Hello and welcome back to another piece of advice. Today's topic, I'm going to be talking about a recent, depression episode that I had. And I kind of had a bit of a revelation, or I guess a calming reminder as it all came crashing down, as it happened, as it had its effect. And this revelation, I guess, made me see the bigger picture, which is ultimately the key to looking at all the tribulations we face on a daily, weekly basis. There's a calming feeling, or there's a calming presence when you look at things in the bigger picture. The absolute power in that. And I guess with a bigger bit of context to the depressive episode, it was brought on about by some unhealthy patterns with my eating and my sleep and social time, and I guess exercise, and I guess unrealistic and invisible pressures that I was putting on myself. Also, it came with the fact that I couldn't play AFL on the weekend. As small as that may seem to other people, it's an absolute passion of mine. I love it so much. Like, I've played it forever, and I couldn't play it the main reason was because I was sick. I got sick at a wedding in Queensland, and it was my cousin's wedding. It was a great time. And then I woke up, or I guess the night of the wedding, I had this really traumatic fever dream, and it felt so real. And this sounds weird, but it was honestly one of those dreams where I felt like I woke up and nothing would be the same again. And the whole premise surrounding, or the events surrounding the fever dream was that I was being stalked, and there was someone that was stalking me at my work. And then I work at a pub, so if I work at a late shift, I was very scared to go out and go to my car because there's not many people around at that time. So this really shook me, and it took me the entire day to kind of get over it. Like, the closet in the corner of the room that I was staying in, it was like slightly open, the door, and I honestly thought someone was in there waiting to pounce on me as soon as I closed my eyes. So I stayed awake, and also I was sleeping in there with my girlfriend, so I was worried about that. Absolutely a very, very, traumatizing experience. And I guess coming back from that, I realized that, I'm actually going through I'm going through a very sick period at the moment. We thought it was COVID. It actually wasn't. I had all the symptoms of it, but it actually wasn't. So I guess in amongst the negative COVID tests, the sickness was honestly excruciating. We stayed there for a couple of days after I became sick, and then I eventually passed it on to my girlfriend. And just us trying to get home was another challenge as well. And I guess with the sickness came the depression, or depressive episode. With the sickness came the intrusive, the pessimistic, negative thoughts that were just flying everywhere. And it was hard to, deconstruct them. At first I was able to deconstruct certain ones and realize there was just a sickness having its effect. But as it just got more overwhelming, I started to doubt everything I was doing in life, everything I was working for. And I'm a very hard worker, and I see a lot in my future, and I'm really excited to live a life that I choose. Years ago, I wasn't in that state, and so I want to take life by the balls and just go for it and actually build a life that I want to live. But I guess I felt my life was slowly shrinking into a complete nothingness. with nothing to enjoy, nothing to work for, and a lot of insecure thoughts came through as well into my sphere, and especially in regard to my relationships and specifically my girlfriend. It was hard to shake those things. I know when it comes to insecure thoughts, they're not something that you want to give much power to, especially when it comes to, in a relationship sense, like a lack of trust. But these things were just so powerful. And I did talk to her about it, and I got through those things, but man, it was really, really hard to shake those things. And I guess something important to note is that with the sickness and then with realization I couldn't play footy, and then as I got back from the trip to Queensland, I had a whole week where I was just basically bedridden. I couldn't do any work on Path to Peace, which is literally what I'm doing as a full-time thing at the moment. And I felt like I had lost a complete week. This week the past week, and as I was sick, I couldn't keep up with any wiki uploads, and I had the season 2 launch, the first episode of season 2 kind of to work on to finish that off, and I couldn't, which was so frustrating because I'd been working on this for this whole first part of the year. I've been banking up episodes, and so that was part of what affected my mental health. So yeah, I couldn't play AFL, still wasn't 100%. That was really frustrating. And so I guess as I came back from Queensland, that whole week was just an absolute lull. I just felt like a dud and I couldn't get anything done. I had all this time, but I wasn't there, man. It was so hard and I guess no one else was, my mum and dad weren't home, they were away, and my brother was here, but it was here and there. It was just a really, really annoying, frustrating, and it was a week that just kind of took me down a peg. So come to Saturday, where AFL's, the thing that I just look forward to. I've completely rostered off Saturdays because I love the game. I just want to be available for it every single weekend. And I made a decision on Thursday to not play, and I was just hating myself on Friday night because I'm like, oh my god, I could actually play. In hindsight, I probably made the best decision because I don't want to spread that sickness to my teammates and obviously the opposition. But man, it was such a depressing and frustrating feeling that I couldn't play, especially since the first 2 weeks were rained out. Third week was the Easter holidays, so I couldn't play then, and then the fourth week we finally have a game, and then I can't play because I'm sick. And then the week after, so week 5, it's literally we have a bye. So I was like, oh well, I should have just played, and then I would have had a week rest anyway. But anyway, that was part of the issue and part of the depression. But on that Saturday, I did see my girlfriend, and I did tell her about what was happening. I remember crying. I was in Cronulla. We were at a sandwich shop at Loaf, and I was tearing up just sitting there. And she was being as supportive as you could be, but I couldn't really shake it, and it was just so powerful. And I know I feel better after, crying, because it's an amazing feeling. It's a very freeing feeling, but it was really hard to shake that. And I had a party that night as well, which not only did I not feel 100% for sick-wise, but mentally I just wasn't in a state to go and talk to people, and that was a really nervous or like anxiety inducing experience to go through that, and I didn't want to let people down. I didn't want to let the host down because he's such an amazing person, but I just had to say no to it and then stay in another night. I had to stay inside. So I got some like takeout dinner, and I went to Cronulla to go get that. And there was actually an Indigenous like festival, like event going on, which was really cool. They had a concert going on. They had some shops where you could buy some like authentic art. It was really cool. So I ordered my food, and while I was waiting for it, I went and checked out everything that was going on with the event. Now in this state, like everything I was seeing sparked anxiety in me. For instance, I'd see a father with his kids, and I started getting anxious about fatherhood and questioning how the hell I'm going to be a father, especially on days like this when I'm too emotional, I guess, to function. And of course, I'm going to have days like this forever. We all are. But I guess I was in a state where I was worrying about fatherhood, and I'm 21 years old and I'm not even close to that. But it felt very real. Everything was just giving me anxiety. I'd see a group of friends, and like young friends. It would have been like 16 to 18 or something. And it just made me reminisce when life was, I guess, as pressureless as it is for them, or as I assume it is for them. And man, I'm just sitting on a park bench, like just bawling my eyes out, looking at everything, and everything is giving me a negative response. As I started to just let the tears flow and just kind of start looking up instead of, I guess, looking down and looking at the people in front of me, I started looking up, I guess, into the clouds, into the night sky, and it kind of hit me in that moment that like everything is necessary. Right now, what I'm going through is completely necessary. It's actually probably more important than the good times. You know, those depressive, nervous, inescapable days, the good, exciting, heartwarming days, the confusing days where you have existential, thought-provoking moments, days where you question everything. It's all necessary. And like, yes, I know this is like an age-old lesson, and you know, it's talked about a lot, obviously. But I realized in this moment as well, there's a difference between knowing of something and actually understanding it. So like knowing something can take a second. You can absorb a piece of advice from like a motivational speaker, or just from a friend, or from a mentor, or it can be something that you read online or you hear in a podcast, whatever it may be. You can know something, you can hear a quote of advice, you know, a moral, a lesson. The knowing part is almost simultaneous, and that's just how it is for the knowing part. But when it comes to the understanding part, it takes time. Actually understanding a piece of advice that's relayed to you takes time. And again, I've heard, I guess, the notion before, and it's something I've started to realize more and more in my life. But yeah, there is a huge difference between knowing something and knowing of something and actually understanding something. You can have all the motivational quotes thrown at you and the lessons in life and ways to look at things differently, but until you go through something that, I guess, relates to it, it probably won't sink in. It won't make sense, and you won't have a point of reference to look to that piece of advice and think, oh yeah, I'm gonna take this more seriously, or I'm gonna live my life by this advice. Now, again, could be different for some people, but how it is for me, I guess, because we're always looking for a revelation or something to completely change our trajectory in life and to kind of solve everything. But there's little revelations along the way as compared to just like one big epiphany, in my opinion. And I've found this over the years. I've learned to trust in time. And so I guess the two things that I want you guys to take from this, the first one is everything is necessary. Everything is necessary. The shit days, the good days. The shit days, I guess, make you appreciate the good days, the confusing days where you question everything. Everything is necessary. And with that idea of everything is necessary, just embrace when the times are hard. Sit back and tell yourself, okay, this is a part of my journey. This is a part of my progress. And I needed this. I needed this crash. I needed this to take me down a peg. I needed to catch myself up a bit. So first, everything is necessary, and we need to, you may hate what you're going through at the time, but understand that it's a part of a bigger picture. It's necessary to the bigger picture. It's necessary to your overall growth and progress, and you'll appreciate that in due time. The second lesson that I want you to, or idea that I want you to remind yourself, is that knowing something can take a second. Knowing of something can take, it's simultaneous, right? But actually understanding something takes time. It takes experience. It takes something to really shock you to your core, or to strip you down to completely nothing, to break you down. And then in that moment, you can build yourself back up, either get rid of baggage or add something as you build yourself back up. So that understanding part, I can't really give you a reference of time, but I guess over the years I've learned something. I've built on something every single year. I've failed in something in one year, and then the year after I realized, oh, that was like completely necessary. I knew about this piece of advice back then. I knew about the idea that you can know something. Everyone can know something, but actually understanding is a whole nother challenge, right? So I knew that, say in 2019, but actually understanding that came in 2020, came in 2021, and again was reinforced in 2022, this year. So that's the two things I want to kind of leave with you and just give you something to think about there. It's all necessary, and the knowing part is simultaneous, while the understanding part can take some time. And give yourself that time. That's breathing room right there. Another thing I want to mention is that this depression episode was actually the first one in a couple of years for me. It's the first time I had felt like that in a couple of years. And therein lies another lesson that I think you can take away, I guess, is to acknowledge every single stage of your recovery, of your rehabilitation, of your journey, of that path to peace. You may not notice how well you're doing because you're focusing on trying to do better. And we need to stop ourselves and be proud of the progress we're making. So yeah, thank you if you've listened so far. I'm doing good now. I'm back into a good schedule, and I'm back exercising more, in comparison to just being a homebody during the sickness. Feeling much better, and just feel with a bit more clarity moving forward that this is being reinforced in me. And I hope this helps you. Please share it around to someone if you think it will help them. I hope you have a good rest of the day, and catch us in the, next episode of Path to Peace, and it will be season 2, the launch. I'm going to be doing more piece of advices like this, so keep an eye out for them, and let me know any topics that you want me to go through as well. I'm happy to talk about anything, and have a good one.